Wet the legend up, he's on. Salford.
I think he
against
agrees.
Huddersfield.
You'd like to see Hunslet Park signed in League One.
Of course I would. Yeah.
Salford against Huddersfield on Thursday night. Huddersfield on the slide, but Salford without Robert Louis. Can they get their first win without Louis?
Yes, I think they can as well, just because of how bad Huddersfield are, to be honest with you. I just can't see how they can get themselves out of this rut. They will be getting further down that slide with this weekend. Salford, yeah, they won the response. Yeah, big loss, Robert Louis. Guess what? Wasn't the best performance against Wigan, but they'll be looking to hit back. And I think, the Red Devils will win this quite easily. Just nothing there for Huddersfield, and I'm going Salford by 14.
I think we look at a fixture every week and say it might not be top versus second, but it has more significance. I think last week it was Wakefield and Huddersfield, and I think also Leeds and Catalans. That we felt that if a team's going to turn a season round, there's a certain fixture that they have to win. Huddersfield have to win this fixture because they've been so abject in the last 3 weeks. I think there was some disruption at Salford last week with Louis leaving and Lollahea coming in now. They've announced that Griffin's leaving, which I think was no secret either.
Yeah, I mean, Ian Watson basically confirmed that.
Yeah, and I think Salford are now in the market to perhaps, firm up with some of the players that they're going to go for. I think the Jackson Hastings story will come out sooner rather than later. And again, nobody's felt that he would be at Salford next year. It's almost like Salford are playing without pressure, but if they win, they're at that 20-point threshold, and I think they can breathe easy. They can plan for next year. They know they're in Super League. I don't think there's any doubt they will be, and they can actually look at maybe a top 5 spot.
Well, just to put it into context, we're talking about Huddersfield in crisis. If they beat Salford, they're 1 win behind.
Exactly. So this is a must-win for Huddersfield, but I just didn't see anything last Friday that would convince me that in a week they could turn that terrible form round. So I am going to go Salford. I think the Salford fans will really get behind the team, as they always do. Salford by 10.
Got to go for Salford as well. Having seen Huddersfield in the flesh last week, boy oh boy, as Sco would say, they're not very good, are they? Salford are obviously 2 wins better than on the league table, and seem to have played okay. Lost to Wigan, who are in form. I'll accept that. We think Wigan anyway, so that goes with the narrative. Salford will win. I don't know what happens to Huddersfield. Salford by 12.
I think Salford have won their last 3 at home. Certainly beat Cass, beat Wakey. I think they've registered another win as well. I think it is 3 on the spin. For them, Huddersfield need a win like Wakey needed a win last week, and I'm not sure they've got it. I think Salford's a really tough place to go, and I think when Salford fancy it, Salford generally win, and I don't see where the guts are in this team. I don't see who, like you said earlier, who's going to stand up and win the game for Huddersfield. I can't see. I want him to. I like Simon Wolford. I think he's a breath of fresh air. He's honest. He don't hide. But I like Ian Watson. I think he's doing a great job, and I think at the minute they've got that. Everyone's writing us off. I'll get Salford over the line. I really do fear now for Huddersfield. I mean that genuinely. I think if they don't get a win, you can't. In a big game, you can't back them. And I think if Gaskell doesn't show up this week again, they aren't going to win. I'm going to go Salford by 14. I think they'll win quite easily.
The big mistake for Huddersfield was that they didn't replace Ryan Hinchcliffe with a player like him.
Yeah, but you talk about culture and all this.
There is somebody there who you just think, follow him and we'll be all right.
Yeah. So out of their 14 points, by the way, Huddersfield, 8 of their points have been won against Hull KR and London. 3 of those games were at home. So they've picked up 6 points against teams above them all season in 16 games.
You can't see that.
That's rubbish.
Final thing on Salford, a bit harsh from our colleague Joe Mills on Wish FM. He referred to Tui Lollahea as a second-hand Jordan Tansey on the radio the other night. It's a bit harsh.
It is. Right, let's move on. Friday, the big one. It's Castleford against Leeds.
Yeah, Castleford, well, they got plenty of points this weekend against London, but London, it just wasn't. It was a game where I say forget about it, move on. They were far better than what they showed London, to be honest with you. Cass wasn't really convinced, if I'm honest, and I'm sure Dalpal again knows, and as I mentioned before, I would have given us a team performance, maybe 6 out of 10. Leeds, well, they're buying every Tom, Dick and Harry to making sure that they're surviving from there, looking to get reaction from Louis, whether the kid from Canterbury plays this week, we will see from there, but there just seems a bit of a spring in the step from Leeds. and decent win against Catalans, even though the Catalans are nowhere near where they should be at this moment in time. Not convinced with Cass. I'm sticking with Leeds. I'm going with Leeds to win by 10.
That worries me because he went with Catalan last week.
Phil, I thought we were supposed to be mates.
I think the thing about Leeds, and you touched on it, it wasn't a vintage performance against the Dragons. The impressive thing was that they finished the game strongly, which they haven't done this year. When they've been put under pressure late on in games, they have capitulated, but they didn't this week. I'm still not sure that Leeds are ready to beat a really good team. I just don't know how good Castleford are at the moment. I think
Cass are good for.
the fact that they didn't score in the last 20 minutes against London when they were so far ahead, again, I think that would have annoyed Darryl Powell a little bit, that they didn't put their foot on the throat. I still think Cass will have too much at the jungle. Leeds have got a game against Hull KR the following week, which I think will go a long way to determining if they can climb away from the other teams on 14 points. I'll go Cass by 4, but I think that's an improvement for Leeds.
I'm going to go Cass as well. I was tempted by Leeds, but then I've just talked myself out of it completely, which is ridiculous when I see the number I've gone with by Cass. I think it was an important result for them yesterday against London. Shake a few of the cobwebs off. They're better on paper than Leeds. They should beat Leeds. They beat them once. They didn't beat them the other time. But in the Clash Part 3...
Is that what it's built?
I believe so. Yeah.
Is there a trophy?
Probably. Don't know what the trophy
Alan
would be.
Hardesty.
Darryl Powell
I don't think
trophy.
Leeds are going to win this year as a wooden spoon, Phil.
Winners get Darryl Powell next year. Cass by 18.
Oof! Wow.
I know. I don't know
Yeah.
what
I think Leeds were better than that. They weren't great on Sunday. They were all right. I said in the build up to it when I predicted Leeds would win that you've got to be lucky sometimes with the fixtures, and they were lucky. Played Catalans. Anyone would have beaten Catalans on Sunday, and I think it's important you don't go too far into lucky. But there were improvements, and with you on that, they were better, but they still were average. I haven't seen Cass. I've worried about Cass. I've said to you, I think they're on a downward spiral. But I think for a Cass team that their aspirations are slipping through the fingers, one thing they'll never get tired of is beating Leeds. And I think this is a perfect fixture for Cass this week. I thought they could have slipped up against London. They didn't. They won quite convincingly. Whatever the scoreline said, they won convincingly. And I think they'll win this week. But I think it'll be tight. I think Leeds with Louis. I think Louis had a bit of success against Cass at Salford. I'm going to go Cass by 4. Right. Okay. Moving on. Hull St Helens.
Well, for Hull to win this game, they've got to make sure they can not just compete with this St Helens pack, but they've got to compete for the full 80 minutes because when the big guys come off the bench, they make an impact. But then when the big Thompson and Walmsley back on for the last 25 minutes, that's got even more purpose and impact with them two big guys. They're certainly the best two front rowers in the game, without a shadow of a doubt. Certainly in Super League from there. Justin Allbutt doesn't look as though he's going to be resting players. The players, they want to be turning out week in and week out. They're in good form. I just don't think the whole forwards can handle St Helens, and I think that's where it's going to be won. And the creativity of Farge there at half-back, and when Johnny Lomax's in great form, the speed we've got in the back line from there. It'll be a good game. I think they'll be competitive, but I think the St Helens quality will just get the better of the black and whites, and I'll go St Helens by 12.
Bearing in mind that we talked about this before, we know what the squads are. We don't know if Albert Kelly will be back for Hull. That will make a big difference. I don't know whether Aaron Smith will be playing for Saints, because obviously he went to hospital. He's fine, but I don't know whether that means that he won't be able to play this week. And without Roby and Smith, I don't know who will play at hooker.
Well, it's a gamble they don't have to take.
Yeah.
There's bigger games ahead.
Exactly.
I'm not being rude. They're 8 points clear at the top.
Yeah.
But this is not. They don't have to win this week.
Exactly, and I think that might play into Hull's hands a little bit on the back of what was a really disappointing performance at Rovers. And I think, yes, short turnaround, get all of that. But I think Lee Radford was just upset that his team didn't play, made too many mistakes. So I think being at home, putting down a marker in the build-up to this semi-final that they've got against Warrington, which is clearly the biggest game in Hull's calendar that's coming up. The playoffs will take care of themselves because they're in it, and what shape they're in when they come round will determine how far they go in that. But I think Lee Radford will get a response from his team, and as you say, this isn't a game that St Helens need to win, so I'll go Hull by 6.
It's bizarre. I'm going to say it's a only lost 2 all season. But Hull, if they lose this weekend, having thrown away the opportunity to pick up 2 points last week because the form goes out of the window and all that, blah, 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 they could get dragged back in to this race into the top 5 because Castleford, Wigan and Catalans are all at home this weekend. Having said that, I'm going with Saints, and I'm going to go for the same number as Scully. I'm going to go for Saints by 12.
Okay. I'm going to go Hull. I think Hull will win. I think this is a Hull team that when they want to play, they turn up, they play. Last week, a bit of an anomaly against that. Saints don't have to win. So I think Saints, for the record, I wanted to win last week, and they went and won. This is a tough time. I think this is a rehearsal, by the way, of the cup final. And they will meet as well on the 13th of September in Super League. So these lot, this could be the first of 4 meetings to the end of the season. Once in the cup, once in the playoffs, and twice in the league. They could meet 4 times in the next 3 months. That could happen. I think Hull at home, they have to bounce back from last week. As Rich said, you look at that league table, and the teams immediately behind them could feasibly all win this weekend. All 4 of them. Could be an important game. I think Hull win. I think Hull will win by 7. So look, there you go. Right, let's crack on. Wigan against Hull, Kingston Rovers. This game is live on Top Spot 2. The legend and I will be there. What are you making of it?
Well, the quiet achievers at this moment in time, Wigan Warriors, are going nicely. Nicely and quiet about the business from there. But the opposition, they're making some noises. Since Tony Smith has gone there now, just got beaten by Wigan at Caircom a couple of weeks ago from there. All right, London, they should have maybe won that game. London, great fight back, but brilliant performance against the Black and Whites. I know we're going to go about the business quietly and playing pretty well, but I just feel as though the way he's turned it around, Tony Smith, they'll go there and express themselves. They'll maybe make sure there's plenty of ball movement. I think there could be a surprise here on Friday night. I do. And the confidence what they're playing, they won't get overawed. I'm going for Kingston Rovers to turn Wigan over. And I'm going for OKR. 7!
I don't think Tony Smith is a kind of bloke that looks at the fixture list and sees who's coming next. I think he goes 100% in every game that he's playing. So the fact that he's got a massive game against Leeds the following Friday, I don't think will come into his thinking. But this week isn't the big game, next week is. I think there's something settled about Wigan at the moment. They're still not scoring enough points, and that will be an issue. But I think that comes on the back of the kind of defence that Adrian Lam has instilled in his team. And I think that's the problem for Hull KR, that if they come up against a really good defensive team, they will struggle to score some points. There was all the emotion of the new players arriving, it being a derby fixture last week. This is a different kettle of fish going to Wigan. I think it will be close. Obviously, might be a drop goal in it. We've seen that before between these 2 teams. There'll be no fear for Hull KR, but I just don't think they've got the arsenal to win at Wigan at the moment. They're a work in progress. They're getting better, so I'm going to go Wigan by 4.
Wigan and Cas could both win on Friday, depending on what the point difference situation is. Wigan could go 4th in the table, which is ridiculous when you think about it. I think they'll have a chance of going 4th because I think they'll beat Hull Kingston Rovers. I think they'll just have too much for them. There's a good chance 1 and 4 could all remain exactly where they are at the end of the weekend. I'm going Wigan by 8.
Mine says Wigan have got to win this game, and the form they're in, they should win this game. But I'm with Gary. I think Hull KR won't be thinking, we've got to win next week. They'll be thinking, if we win this week, we'll jump above everyone, so we'll win this week. And I think having Garbutt and Masson again, we're speculating on what the team will be. Parcell instantly adds a threat to them. I think they'll go out and play. They'll throw a lot of shape at thing. They only lost by a point when a month ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know Wigan had, and Wigan might have had a few missing themselves. Look at the team now. There are 5 or 6 different players in it. I'll take a chance. Look, I thoroughly expect Wigan to win, but I'm going to say Hull KR are going to win. It'll be tight though. I'm going to Hull KR by 2. Right, quickly moving on. We will go on to Saturday. Catalans against Wakefield. scorchy out the Dragons, getting the old suntan lotion out those Wakefield lads.
Well, they'll need it, won't they? I guess if it's pretty warm. But Wakefield wanted a confidence booster last week, and they got it against a very, very poor Huddersfield side. And it's quite simple for me for the Dragons. And I hope Steve McNamara's listening, because I don't want to tell him his job. No, I don't. But Steve, you're a smart coach, and you've got to do it. You've got to do it, son, because if you don't, you're going to get beat this weekend. And you've got to drop Matty Smith. You've got to leave Matty Smith out and let the guys who realistically are better than what he is take charge, because the players around him are not responding. It's no purpose for you whatsoever. But if Matty Smith plays for the Catalan Dragons, Wakefield Trinity win. Wakefield win if Matty Smith plays, and Wakefield win by 8.
I think we'd need to know if Michael McAloran's back for the Dragons, because they clearly missed his direction out of dummy half this week. I have a feeling that it's crunch time at home for the Dragons, that because of the really poor results they've had, and their last home game being a defeat by 50, that the very least that'll be expected of them is winning the home games that they've got less. I think they will get a reaction. I have a feeling that if the temperatures are as they have been this last week, that is going to be really tough for Wakefield. To go into a 45-degree furnace is going to be difficult against a team that's trained in that, even though McNamara said they've changed the training times to not be in the heat of the day. It's almost as if the Dragons are going to do anything this year, they've got to get back in the 5 if they can this week. So I'm going to go Catalan by 10.
I'm excited with Wakefield. This is a very difficult one, regardless, because of everything that's been mentioned. Catalans bang out of form. Wakefield were out of form until they won, but they only beat a poor Huddersfield. So I keep saying about all these games. Leeds beat a poor Catalans. Wakefield beat a poor Huddersfield. How do you take what happened last week into this week? But I'm still going to take Wakefield, but I think it'd be very narrow, very close. David Fafita drop goal, Wakefield by 1.
From 40 metres.
I'm going Wakey. I can't have Catalan. What I saw yesterday was gutless. I'm sorry, it was gutless. I think you take Sam Tompkins out of that team, there was nothing there to like. Nothing there to like at all. Well, actually, that's harsh. Thought Mead went well.
But he doesn't get any service.
You don't get any service, so you can have the best centres in the world. This is what happened at Leeds. Alright, I mean, Callum Watkins today, if you don't pass him the ball, he don't score any tries. So Wakefield shackles off one last week, all important win, go away. I'd say they'll treat it as a bit of a, come on boys, let's go, we'll get the win, we'll have a good time. They're going for a few days by all accounts. I think they'll win. I think the Dragons have gone. I think they've gone at the game. And I think the pressure is building on Steve McNamara. He said he thought his team played well the other day. I can assure you his chairman won't agree with him. I'm going Wakefield by 8. And the last game of the weekend sees London take on Warrington. This game is also live at TalkSport 2 on Saturday. London against Warrington Legend.
Well, the two coaches will want the response on the performances what they had this weekend. All right, Stevie Price may not be too despondent because St Helens were far superior, to be honest with you there. But yeah, Danny Ward will want the response on his side because there was just nothing there against Castleford. But put that in the bin. We'll move on. Warrington, I just feel as though they'll have a little bit too much class. I want the response. Price again. I don't think it'll be too easy for Warrington because, as I say, London did turn up. Ward didn't want the response, but I've got to go with quality, and that's Warrington, and I'll go Warrington by 12.
Yeah, I think again Steve Price will be saying to his guys, if you're going to do anything this year, you've got to put form on the board. I suspect that London are just in a tiny little bit of a dip at the moment. They had 3 big wins that weren't just great wins on the field, they were emotionally draining off the field, and I think you quite rightly highlighted Jordan Abdul, who obviously in the game against Hull KR was outstanding, but you've got to be able to back it. It's what you always say, it's consistency, isn't it? You've got to do it week in, week out. I just think this is a game that London probably wouldn't want Warrington to have lost last week, because they know there's going to be a backlash. I think Warrington will have too many big guns, score too many points. Warrington by 12.
Yeah, Warrington as well. As I mentioned with Hull, they can get dragged back into that battle for a place in the top 5 because they didn't take advantage last week, and they could have closed the gap on Warrington and they didn't. Warrington couldn't close the gap on St Helens here. Not that it matters, they've got second pretty much sewn up I think now. And London are what they are. Warrington by 18.
Head says Warrington. Heart says London. Interesting, what team does he pick? Will he leave an Austin out? Dare he leave Austin out? On the artificial surface. On the artificial surface.
Good point.
Don't know. It's got to be. you mentioned Noah Ratchford. You mentioned that earlier in the show. Nick Patton's not going to get this team around midfield on his own.
No.
I think that's an interesting one. Who might not play? No, Chris Hill as well. He's out. I've got an awful feeling. I think London need a win in the next 3 weeks, or they're down. They've got a Hull the week after. I'll go London by 4. I think even internally they'll think this is a game they've got a target. And let's be fair, St Helens have gone there and lost. Wigan have gone there and lost. You know, there's some other big teams have gone there and lost. They can do it. I'll go London by 4.
Interesting again, no Super League on Sunday.
No.
We mentioned this time.
That's
again.
quite a lot in the next few weeks as well, by the way.
And yet we had a game on Sunday at Helens, which is traditionally not a Sunday venue. 12,500.
Great atmosphere.
It was.
Great atmosphere. Such a shame about the result. Did I say that out loud?
No.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't think I
You
did.
just thought it.
Hi everyone over in the UK. Well, I'm here to tell you that come October this year, I'll be travelling to the UK to do a week-long talking tour. I'll be talking about everything in my life, my rugby league career, how I started, and of course how I finished this year. I'll be travelling to Leeds, St Helens, Hull and Doncaster to do live events. Go to rmsportsevents.co.uk to get all the information. I'll also be playing a couple of games of rugby league against an old foe of mine, Adrian Morley. The events also support Life for a Kid. Can't wait for it. It's going to be great fun. I love the UK. See you in October.